There is not one good reason. You claim, you avow that you are a self-proclaimed Christian nationalist, so I'm sure you spent some time in Sunday school.
That's a pejorative.
I'm sorry, did you happen upon a scripture that said, thou shalt make their neighbor poorer, hungrier, sicker, and less safe? That's actually what you've done. I didn't ask you to speak. This makes no sense. You are as incompetent as you are cruel and callous. Seriously, there are millions of families who have had to deal with an unexpected medical crisis, including yours, I'm sure. Because cancer and illness do not discriminate. They don't care how fat your wallet is or what your zip code is. Everyone has been faced with some unexpected crisis that interrupted their life and destabilized their financial future, carrying the burden of caregiving, carrying the burden of sleepless nights, carrying the burden of debt unpaid, medical bills. But what upsets me most, please look at me, what upsets me most is the shame that people carry about that debt. So let me be clear to families throughout the country. The only people who should be ashamed of medical debt is the Republican Party, because they have obstructed progress for affordable health care at every turn. And then they rescinded the rule that would have given you some relief.
Would the gentlelady yield?
I will not. This is my time.
Would the gentlelady yield?
I will not yield. This is my time. And he's on his way out the door, and he needs to know exactly the harm he has caused. But the American people deserve to know.
Talk about Obamacare.
I will not yield.
It's Ms. Presley's time.
Why are you speaking to me when I didn't yield to you? Direct your vote. You have gutted the CFPB. You have dropped settlements the CFPB brought against predatory companies that were supposed to provide relief to customers. $360 million to help people gone. Americans are in dire need of financial relief, but Trump and his co-conspirators, his cult of co-conspirators, are making life worse for everyday people, and I mean everyone. Women, the disabled, young people, seniors, veterans, immigrants, and especially people of color who are most burdened by debt and predatory collection and reporting practices. That is exactly why I introduced legislation to stop you from hurting people, like getting rid of consumer protections related to medical debt. The American public deserves better. They deserve better than you.
Think about this for a second. Jobs are down. Wages are flat. Costs are up. And this president is asleep. Like literally. He's falling asleep on the job. Like every day. And it's hurting the American people. He's doing nothing to try to help people with the cost of groceries and rent and health care.
This is why the average American is struggling and complaining about wages and the cost of living. Here's the math. There's about 80 million Americans making $50,000 or less. And these are essential jobs that we need to operate this entire country. And they are being underpaid. $50,000 after taxes, 401k, and health insurance is $2,900 a month take-home pay in 2026. Let's say they find an apartment with utilities for $1,500 a month. Let's say that they do a perfect budget of $100 a week for groceries. They don't eat out. They don't do DoorDash. They are perfect when it comes to their food. $400. Let's say they get a used car well below the average for $300 to get them back and forth on their 45-minute commute. Then they have $150 for car insurance, $150 for gas, $150 for cell phone and internet, and $100 for personal care. Leaves them with $150. And they have no student loans and no credit cards. How is somebody in America in 2026 who is financially perfect, zero debt, investing in their 401k, budgeting to the dime, has $150 left over? How do they go on dates? How did they travel? God forbid, what if someone passes away in their family and they have to go travel out of state to the funeral, or a friend is getting married? They would have to put that on a credit card. We have built an economy that if you're perfect, you still have to have a second job in order to make progress. And it's so exhausting to hear people just throw out these things. Would you ever think about cutting your expenses? What are you gonna cut? This person is perfect. The wages have to go up, or we need to cut taxes on the first $100,000 and allow people to keep their money. Our generation got fucked. Hence the reason I wrote the book, Generation Fucked, How Millennials and Gen Zs Were Robbed of the American Dream and How We Can Fix Our Futures. The pre-orders are now available. Comes out July 14th. You can grab a copy of my profile. I go over so many things that happened over the past 50 years that led to this wealth inequality, from stock buybacks to private equity to the national debt to the cost of living crisis, wages, and solutions for policies and independent things that we can all do to reclaim the American dream and make it work.
All over the country, people are saying, wait a minute, we can't afford housing, we can't afford health care, we can't afford childcare, we can't afford food at the grocery store, and this war now, which will cost hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars, why? Why? To bomb buildings in Tehran, to force 1 million people in Lebanon from their homes? So it's not just progressives and Democrats. I think you have a lot of conservatives saying, Trump ran on a campaign saying, I'm going to end endless wars. We've got to invest in America, not in these endless wars. And he went back on his word. So I think the polling suggests that whether you're Republicans, Democrats, this is not a war the American people want.
Yeah, there's a poll that said a lot of Americans think that the White House isn't focused enough on domestic issues.
Yeah, no kidding. You know, working class people are having a hard time getting by. 60% of our people live in paycheck to paycheck, while Trump and his billionaire friends have never had it so good. And now we're spending what will amount to many hundreds of billions of dollars on a war that should not be fought. The American people are not happy about it.
Over half of America is basically saying my bank account and these press conferences are not having the same conversation. Because a new report says 55% of Americans say they are struggling financially. And the wild part is every couple of weeks, somebody with a net worth that looks like a lottery jackpot comes on TV to explain to regular people like you and me that everything is getting better. And I'm like, better where? Because the math has to math at the kitchen table, not just on a government spreadsheet. And to be fair, this is not a new problem. This is the same mistake that Joe Biden made when he kept saying inflation is down, things are better. Because millions of Americans kept looking at their grocery bills, their utilities bills, going, better for who? Because regular people like you and me don't measure economy by a chart. We measure it when the mortgage comes out, when the rent is due, when we leave the grocery store with 3 bags for $100 and trying to figure out how we got here. So you can tell people that the storm is clearing, but if they're still standing in the rain, they're going to question the forecast. So I want to know, forget what the politicians say. Forget what the headlines say. In your own actual house, with your actual bills and your actual paycheck, does it really feel like things are getting better? Because until people start really being honest about what they're experiencing, nothing's going to change.
So Trump came out a few hours ago and said that Americans are going to suffer financially for at least 2 years while his tariff strategy takes place. Okay, which means millions of people are about to lose their jobs. They're about to lose their homes. They're going to lose everything they have. Kids are going to be food insecure. We are looking at an economic tsunami. Okay, there's only 1 of 2 scenarios in which we can turn this around. One is Trump is lying about the tariffs. If he's lying and he backs down the tariffs, that could help. Okay, he lies every day, so that wouldn't be surprising. But if he's not lying and he keeps these tariffs in place, the only thing we can do is march in the streets and fight back. Call your local representatives. Do whatever you can. Show up at town halls, okay, and complain before he takes every single thing you have. Don't think he'll lose a minute of sleep over it. He's a sociopath. He doesn't feel your pain. He doesn't care about you. Believe me. Even if you're MAGA, he doesn't care about you. I know you think he does, but he doesn't. It's time now, guys, to take control. This is the only chance we're going to have, and we're running out of time. So Trump came out a few hours ago and said that Americans are going to suffer financially for at least 2 years while his tariff strategy takes.
We're still struggling, even when we have our money coming through. We had to suffer going almost a week with no food.
The economy's down the tubes. Healthcare is awful. Prescriptions are terrible. Groceries are off the charts. Yep. And I think the only way we're going to do better is if he gets out and somebody else gets in.
Look, I just read an article that was in the Financial Times that described that a single salary is no longer enough to support a family of 4. Again, whether you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, go a little rock and roll country or R&B, what the American people need right now is leadership from both parties to stand up and do something for them for a change. In other words, the same vigor and fervor that they use, the people in the bubble whose children gonna be all right. You know who's gonna suffer is the everyday Americans in this country.
I struggle every day, and now I'm taking care of my mom who's older, being denied simple things like breathing meds. So gas, what are you going to do? So I don't eat this week because I have to take mom to the doctor's tomorrow.
If you could pick one word to describe the economy, your economic situation right now under these conditions, one word to describe that.
Desolate.
Before we get started, if you enjoy our next conversation about the issue affecting everyday Americans, make sure you like this video, subscribe, and let me know in the comment section. Do you think American dream is getting harder to achieve? I would really like to hear your perspective. Now let's get into it. One thing that's becoming harder to ignore is that more Americans are saying they are working just as hard as they always have, but somehow they are falling behind. For many families, it is no longer just about buying a house or saving for retirement. Some are just talking about struggling to pay rent, groceries and healthcare, or even basic monthly bills. What's interesting is that this conversation isn't coming from just one political party, one state, or one generation. Whether people blame inflation, wages, house cost, government policy, or corporate pricing, there is growing sense that everyday life has become more difficult to afford. Maybe that's the real issue. A healthy economy shouldn't only look good on paper. It should feel strong in the life of the people, of the citizen, of the ordinary people. When millions of hardworking Americans begin asking the same question about affordability, it is worth paying attention to, regardless of where you stand politically. This concern deserves serious discussion because they have affect families, communities, and the future of the country. Thank you.